It took us 7 minutes to get to one of the most famous shots of all time. But again, the breaking news here this morning. So let's get to Kawhi and the Raptors at home taking on Joel Embiid and the Sixers. Good game throughout. We'll pick it up in the fourth quarter. Raptors are down by 1, and here we go. It's Kawhi going to kick it out for Kyle Lowry. No good, but they were playing with that big lineup so much of that fourth quarter until they get themselves another look. And there's Kawhi knocking down the 3 and Toronto taking the 2-point lead. Just over 5 minutes to go. We're tied at 80. And again, watch Leonard working. Just so smooth. The Raptors a 2-point lead. Next possession, Kawhi again. Ben Simmons working on him. They can't figure out exactly the defense. I'm not sure there is defense for that. Raptors, after the free throw, are up by 5. But with 2 minutes to go, we're tied at 85. And it's Leonard working off the screen again. This time his foot is on the line. So it's a long 2. Raptors by 2. That's significant because the Sixers, with the ball, down by 2. Again, their offense in this fourth quarter could only be described as panicked. Here's an opportunity that comes off of that. Lowry, Siakam, yes. Raptors by 4. The Raptors had a 2-point lead with 10 seconds left, and Kawhi Leonard at the free throw line, and he has a big miss. And so keep an eye on it going the other way. Get the ball to Jimmy Butler. We got 8 seconds. 7, 6, 5. Jimmy all the way to the hole, and so we're tied. 4.2 seconds left. Tie game. You know they want to go to Kawhi. To Kawhi they would. And here's the shot they'll remember forever.
It's off to Leonard. Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
That says it all right there. The call on TNT. Well done, Harlan and company. 1, 2, 3, 4 bounces and in from the corner. Look at the fans in Jurassic Park. They've known so many postseason disappointments. Take a look with the huge Joel Embiid right in his face. That ball is over 18 feet at its apex in the arc as it goes up and then comes down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's in. You want a picture worth 1,000 words? Just look at the faces as they await the fate. Look at the face on Kawhi. Look at the faces on the bench. Look at the face on Embiid. Look at the faces on the fans. This is what makes sports great. When people ask you, why do you care so much about these games? Show them those pictures. Show them these of Joel Embiid walking off the floor crying. It meant that much to him. Raptors, an incredible win. They move on to the Conference Finals, which begin on Wednesday against Milwaukee. We've been talking about it all morning long. Zach, put that shot into perspective, historical perspective. It is one of those we'll be talking about forever.
I don't know what else you can say. I mean, it's an absolutely insane shot. It's the second walk-off series-winning shot of these playoffs. I think there's been 6 in the history of the league. We just had 2 in the last 2 weeks. This is absolutely insane. I didn't think it was going in. I don't think anyone thought it was going in, and then it went in. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
For more historical perspective, you say it's the second walk-off, and it is, because Stoudemire hit I keep calling him Stoudemire, Damian Lillard hit a walk-off to win the series against Oklahoma City. But in terms of winner-take-all games, it's only the second time it's ever happened. Michael Jordan over Craig Elo
the shot.
Is the shot, maybe the most famous shot in basketball history. This is only the second time that it's happened. And what do we say about Kawhi Leonard now, Tibbs, at this stage of his career, what he's done in this postseason?
Well, I think just getting Toronto into the conference finals is a major accomplishment. And the way he's doing it, it's not just the scoring. And now, when he came into the league, he really wasn't even a scorer. And to make a shot like that with so much on the line says a lot about him. But his defense also, his defense on Butler was incredible.
You know, you talk about what guys do at this moment. Everybody say they want to be stars. They want to be big. That's what Kawhi says. He just doesn't beat his chest when he says it. You talk about his patience. And in that moment, when he got the ball, I said, you know, I felt like he could do something special. I didn't know it was going to end like that because the way he was playing, the way he put the team on his back. This is what Toronto was missing all these other years when they would have someone go cold from the field. Now you have somebody that's dependent.
About the Sixers side of this, because we talked about this a bit earlier, and there's been so much conversation about them, the process, where are they, Embiid, Simmons, the future of Brett Brown. That ball, again, everything, 1 inch in another direction, who knows what conversation we're having today, but with it as it stands, what does this do right now in Philly's immediate future?
Which, by the way, what you just said is crazy, that if you're making decisions based on whether that fourth bounce goes in or out, that you're dysfunctional as an organization, which they are not, and they're not going to make decisions that way. I actually, to me, as a neutral party in this series, I came out of this thinking the Sixers are better than I thought. The Sixers at this stage with this specific collection of talent, which is basically brand new, are better than I thought and pushed a really good team all the way to the limit and played with more cohesion. Now, it wasn't always cohesive, it wasn't always pretty, but when they hit their apex in games 3 and 6 at home, you looked at that team and thought, oh, that makes a lot more sense than I thought it did. I come out more optimistic.
Well, I look at 2 years ago against Boston, if Joel makes a V cut to get open where he just tried to go directly to a line and Horford steals the ball, or the pass where he throws it, one-hand pass, coaches teach, do not one-hand pass, 2 hands on the ball. But in this situation, it's little things. It's boxing out. They gave Toronto many opportunities where you didn't even see guys look to box out. They just watched the ball. What we teach kids today is you got to put a body on somebody.
Do you believe, Zach, as he shoves me, do you believe Brett Brown gets fired?
I'm going to say no. I think, first of all, I believe he's certainly earned the right to come back, and I think it would be hard to do after the series like this.
All right, it's been a weekend filled with enormous NBA stories. Let us get to the next one, because back on the West Coast, the Lakers have a head coach. Again, we have the head coaching announcement this morning, and on Saturday, Woj reporting that the LA and Frank Vogel have agreed to a 3-year deal, and that Jason Kidd has agreed to join Vogel's staff in, quote, a prominent assistant coaching role. Here was Stephen A. Smith's reaction to that.
They went the route of Frank Vogel. Why? Because he accepted 3 years at $5 million per year, as opposed to the 3 years, $6 million per year that Ty Lue was offered. So you're saving yourself $3 million there by choosing Frank Vogel. Not to mention the fact, if there's even a modicum of success that he does not have, Jason Kidd is in line to be the next head coach. He's already on your bench. Obviously, he can maturate himself to the situation, and that's the coach they wanted all along. Kurt Rambis wanted him as coach. Jeannie Buss and the rest of the staff, they wanted him as coach. They knew they couldn't sell him to the public, but for right now, Frank Vogel is the safe pick with Jason Kidd on his bench, and you can expect Jason Kidd to be the next head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers within 2 years.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. Zach, what? I mean, this whole thing has been such a circus. Now you add this to it. Everyone's sort of looking at that and saying Jason Kidd feels like the head coach in waiting.
Well, I mean, we lived this with LeBron's last team when David Black got the job and they put Ty Lue on the bench, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how that one will play out. Godspeed, Frank Vogel. He got his 3 years. He's going to get his money one way or another. But, I mean, this is... You know, Woj pointed out over the weekend that Monty Williams turned it down, and it's been turned down elsewhere. And it's like, it's a crazy, strange job, but we'll see how they do. I mean, you got LeBron. If they get a guy to go there, I don't know who it's going to be. They're going to be a good team. I mean, that's what everyone's forgetting. They have a chance to actually be good.
Are one of these guys going to go there? When push comes to shove, are the Lakers going to get an A or A- level free agent?
I mean, word on the street is Kyrie and possibly the reunion of those two. If they get Kyrie, they're tremendously better. That makes them a playoff team if they get Kyrie. But the whole deal now is that you just don't know with guys today. No one ever thought that Kevin Durant would leave OKC. No one ever thought that Jimmy Butler would leave Chicago. It's just you don't understand the mindset of a lot of the players today where you can even feel comfortable saying this guy's going to be there for the long haul.
And again, as a coach, when you're in the situation that Frank Vogel is in, and Zach just said he's got his 3 years and we'll see what happens. But when there is all this talk before you have even put your whistle on that everyone is expecting your assistant to eventually take your job, I mean, how do you make that work?
Yeah, I think you got to sell the plan to everybody. You have to sell it to the ownership. You sell it to Jason. You sell it to LeBron, your best players, and everyone has to buy into it. If you're putting winning at the forefront, everyone has to be committed to that. And so, and I think they will. It's the Lakers, and to your point, I think the Lakers have always been able to attract free agents. Somebody is going there. They are getting another great player to go there.
That'd be interesting to see who that is. Let me get back to you, Zach, and do it this way. Who actually is making all of these decisions, right? We've been talking about Kurt Rambis and Linda Rambis and Phil Jackson, whatever influence he still has there. Magic Johnson is gone. And Rob Pelinka. Who actually made these decisions?
From best I can tell based on what I've been hearing and what others have reported, it's Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka and Kurt Rambis. Then that's the power trifecta there, and maybe Phil is hovering outside somewhere. I have no idea where he is or what he's doing, but it's Rambis and it's Pelinka, and it all starts with Jeannie, and she's empowered those people to make these decisions, and I think they are in a small, closed-off inner circle where it's them.
And they decided they think that having Vogel there with Jason Kidd as the coach in waiting was the right way to bring some function to a team that feels dysfunctional.
Apparently, and you know, as a lot of people reported, you know, the content of Luke Walton's staff was an issue, right? They wanted to have a more say than Luke was comfortable with on who his assistants were going both last season and going forward. So clearly they flex their muscles on that preemptively.
All right, I'm going to stay here a second. Mark, I apologize. They want me to get to the other game, and I should, but there's just so much here to get to. Coach, you've been a coach a really long time. Do they tell you who your assistants are going to be? I mean, I feel like every time.
I think it's one of the questions that they ask when you get interviewed. Who will your staff be, or who would you like to have on your staff? So once you get hired, you sit down with your general manager and you go through all the names. Some of the names that you have, you may not be able to get out of contracts. So now you go to another list. And then you'll look at everyone, and you're not going to bring in anyone that management's not comfortable with, nor are you going to take anyone on that you're not comfortable with. So you're usually going to find some common ground and hire the best people for the team to look at what are the needs of the team and how can we address those, and then find people that will be committed to working towards what our goals are.
Yes, and one of the guys you're walking in there and saying is the guy that everyone knows that they want to be the head coach. The star player wants to be the head coach. I mean, this is, Bruce, help me here, because this feels to me like a situation that is set up to fail before it even begins. LeBron James is going to look at Jason Kidd as his coach, and we all know it.
Well, and this is where Frank Vogel has to be comfortable with self. This is an opportunity for him that it can possibly go tremendously great, or it can just play out the way that they wanted it to. But at the end of the day, Frank Vogel's looking at as an opportunity to be a head coach of a historic franchise, the Los Angeles Lakers. And you can't fault him for that. Now, if that owner says, okay, you're going to have this person, that person, and you're going to have this person, it's nothing you can do about that, Greeny.
I'll say this. Winning solves everything. If you win, you're going to be fine. Now, it's easy to look back at the David Blatt era and say, wait a second, winning didn't solve that. But the difference is Blatt was kind of a divisive personality just in general and in that locker room. Frank Vogel is a uniting personality. He built those Pacers players up from guys with limited track records, made them believe in themselves. He's going to be a uniter in that locker room.
I'll say this. Having covered Phil Jackson for many years in Chicago, he was a brilliant coach who understood the psychology involved in everything. And in now the roles that he had with the Knicks, where he basically was telling the guys how to coach the team without coaching. He was coaching the team without being the coach of the team. And now, if he really is playing a role where he's telling the coach, this is who your assistant is going to be, it's almost like saying you're going to run the triangle. And that for a guy who was a coach himself, that really surprises me.
Yeah, I think when you look at people who have done it, and there's no one better than Pat Riley, you can attest to that. In the system that they have there with Eric Spoelstra, it's worked extremely well. And I think when you think about the Lakers and you think about their history, and for a long time it was Jerry West, and then he groomed Mitch Kupchak. And I think they had a great understanding of who the Lakers are. And then now the past few years, and then Magic, it's surprising to all of us when Magic left. But now it seems to be like no one's quite sure who's in charge, and I think that'll be resolved in time. We'll find out exactly who's in charge.
I have to leave it there for the moment. We'll take a short break. We have so much more on this as we go. What exactly is LeBron thinking right now, and how will this work in Los Angeles? Brian Windhorst will join us, Stephen A. will join us, and more. Busy morning. Stay there. Get Up on ESPN.